back. In the previous video, we discussed various elements of the conversational UI of Cubo Insights. In this segment, we will perform some additional logical data model configurations. This name, customer, was inherited from the name of the primary table. We can also configure the entity kind. Obviously, in this case, the customer is a person type of entity. The natural order specifies the order in which these entity values will be listed once the user asks questions. By default, we will let them be sorted by last name. These primary key attributes are being fetched from the database, but with this UI, you can specify the primary key attribute even if it's not fetched from the original data source, which is a case in several scenarios. We could also specify multiple attributes as the primary key through this UI. We will skip on the default temporal attribute, which will be set up in another entity. There are canonical synonyms that can be set up, but we recommend adding NLP synonyms. In this case, a customer can be referred to as a client or a purchaser, and we can continue adding multiple synonyms as per your organization jargons. Let's cover named aggregates as part of another entity. Let's look at the named filters. Add 2 filters, one for male, to enable queries like customers that are male. In our data source, male is identified as a gender equals 1. Save this and add another filter, female. Let's select comparison filter and other details. And save. Let's move on to another entity, and in this case, let's look at the transaction entity. Select natural order attribute and default temporal attribute as time. Now you can ask questions like transactions last month, last year monthly, etc. Let's add name aggregate here and call it average customer spending and prohibit the entity name usage, or else the phrase in NLP will be average customer spending transactions, which does not make sense. Let's put the aggregated name as amount, sum it up, and use the normalizer. We will divide the sum of customers spent by the distinct count of customer IDs that we have. Select distinct count and change the attribute to decimal and save. Don't forget to save the draft before you activate it. Click on Reload. Let's take a quick look at the impact of logical data model modifications that we have done. Log in with your username and password. Go to our channel Korea. Start a new thread. Male customers. Ask Cubo, male customers. If you remember, we had introduced a name filter, male, earlier. It will start showing up here. It also shows customers with gender as 1 for male. Now let's ask another question to see the impact of default temporal attribute, Cubo, count of transactions monthly. Given that we have set time as a temporal attribute, it will give a monthly trend. Let's ask another question. Average customer spending to check the impact of the named aggregate. Select a suitable suggestion, and here we go! So, we've seen the impact of named filters, default temporal attributes along time dimension, and how named aggregates help us with business-specific terminology. In the next tutorial, let's take a look at the attributes of an entity. Keep watching!